were talking, or I did mention the affordable housing
Yes.
pieces. There was one recently announced for Haliburton, 29 units at a project called Whispering Pines, which is very exciting. And how do you view that as helping the community or being a part of the community?
Well, as we're seeing with the growth that we're seeing, the highways moving out, whether it be 404 up to Ravenshoe, the 407, you name it, it's causing pressure on the existing housing stock that is here. And we are seeing it, I'm sure you are witnessing it here in Peterborough, you know, in your capacity. We're seeing it in Kawartha Lakes and Brock Township, like the new development I saw in Millbrook. They have houses in the 700,000s price range.
Right.
So, you know, they're high end, but you know just by driving by, these aren't locals buying these houses. You go to Brock Township, it says homes starting in the high 400s. That's not without the lot fee and everything else. And so the people that are living here, that are working in these communities, or even those that have to go in the GTA, the new home buyers or anyone trying to expand, get a bigger house, maybe they had a family, they need more space, whatever, they are being pushed out of the market. They're being pushed up north, or they are kind of locked where they are if they're lucky enough to already have property.
And how do we tackle that? How do we?
Well, supply and demand is one, right? Supply and demand. You have more supply than you have demand, price goes down.
Yeah.
So what we've seen, especially in the rental market here in Ontario, when I talk to a number of landlords, the Landlord-Tenant Act is so heavily weighted toward the tenant, there are landlords that refuse to get into the business. And there's a Globe and Mail article shortly after the Premier changed the rules.
Right.
That's the developer had 1,000 rental units coming online. When the announcement was made, shut that project down and turn them into condominiums. So what does that do to the existing rental stock? Well, there is a huge demand. Supply is not growing, but demand is. So you get people paying top dollar for terrible pieces of rental space. And so you want to lower the price, we need to increase supply. And I'm not saying you need to tilt it you know, one way or the other. I think a nice balance should be seen, but when you do that, and also the federal government, under the previous government, changed the investing rules. You now need 20% down to invest. So it's great when governments can help with assistance in creating affordable housing units, because we do know they are needed, but governments cannot solve the problem entirely. If you're resting it completely on governments to solve the problem, they will always fail. We as politicians will be talking about it every single election, that we need more affordable housing, but if you don't have help from the private sector changing the price of supply and demand, you will never get ahead of this problem.